Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. I am FrasWhar here for GOG, interviewing the creative director of Pathfinder, Wrath of the Righteous, Alexander Mishulin. How are you, Alexander?
Hello, nice to meet you, and thank you for invitation. Uh, it's all good. We released the game, and we really hope a lot of players enjoying it all over the world, and we are really thankful for all the support and all the warm welcomes that we are getting with the game.
The whole team, they've done an amazing job. I managed to
Thank
get
you.
hands on the other day, and yeah, it's a really, really great game.
Thank
In
you.
your own words, what would you say that Pathfinder, Wrath of the Righteous is?
Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous is a classical isometrical RPG set in the world of Galarian, which is a world for Pathfinder tabletop role-playing game system. And it's a game that tells a story about fighting off invasion of demons, which is like the most used premise ever, I think. But
it's quite fantasy, isn't it? It's quite a standard trope. There's demons, that's fantasy. It's good.
Yeah, but we wanted to tell the story seriously with classical CRPG approach, with all the choices, exploration of characters, how they feel about it. If somebody becomes a traitor, or if some person who do bad stuff actually rise up and become a hero. So while premise is rather simple, the story behind it is complex, full of characters, full of depth, and
it's a bit of a defining feature of RPGs, isn't it? The multitude of story paths that you can take, and to make sure that the player feels like they've got all of the steering, driving force behind the story. What do you think? Do you think that Wrath of the Righteous meets up to the sort of expectations that RPG players would put on it?
I hope we exceed them, actually. We have a lot of choices for different types of players. And actually, the Mythic Pass, our core feature that you can become very powerful being, is the one big choice that we are giving our players, and it affects everything. It works like a proper RPG choice, changing the story, changing the mechanics, changing the visuals, everything. It's connected to them, and it gives you a fantasy of playing, for example, a lich with your own ziggurat full of undeads, and even an undead retinue in place of your party if you want so, or an angel with angels behind, and all together fighting the demons. So we tried to tell our story from many different perspectives of different mythic paths, and provide very different experience for players when they're choosing this particular path.
When you've got that many choices in a game, how do you start to plan it all out, to stitch all those threads together?
It always begins with a fantasy, actually. When we start developing Wrath of the Righteous, we understood. We started playing it on tabletop. We had 4 parties simultaneously running with all members of the team. At that time, we were smaller, of course. Playing the game and understanding which are defining moments, what we can do. And we were discussing that it would be great to be playing a lich. Because while mythic paths on tabletop are also very powerful and over the top, they just bigger, better version of the character classes. Like if I'm playing mage, I will become an archmage, which is cool, and I have very powerful spells. But there is also an experience of a lich, which is a very powerful undead necromancer with everything. Or if I'm playing on the good side, what is better than to be an angel against the demons? And we started discussing this fantasy, how we can come up with, how can we do it in the game? How can we tie it all together? Then our narrative designers was like, guys, you are crazy. It's like you are giving us 6 times the usual job, and we want to fit it into one game. So we tried to discuss where those are connect, where we can narrow it down to branch it up again, and how we can make it possible. There was a lot of discussions like that. For example, we were discussing how to approach an Eon, which is a cosmic judge, and there was investigation and everything, but it felt like it's not as grand as Ziggurat or Army of Angels. So we came up with something like Aeon can fix imbalances even in the past. It can go back in time and fix it, and then enjoy the consequences of that. And it was also a moment like, it's crazy, how can we even approach that? And then we break it down mechanically, narratively, and we can make it work. It costs quite a lot, but it works a while, and it makes Aeon truly special with its own special story and ending. And let's make it happen.
Nice. I love that it all starts from the tabletop. With tabletop, a lot of the time DMs are there to balance the game as well. You know, the party might make a stupid decision and they're in a really awkward position, or they might make a great position, a great play or whatever. How do you get around not having a physical DM in Wrath of the Righteous to balance things out?
We provide multitude of options for our players to tweak the game in the way they like to play. There are several difficulty options, starting from the story mode, which is, I want to enjoy the story. I don't care about all this numbers, classes, archetypes, everything. Just I want to build my character, and I want to enjoy the full story experience. And there is a normal mode, which is a little bit of mechanics, a little bit of story. It's not as harsh as the real tabletop rules. So if you can get away with dying for once, and just rest after a while and restore this dying state, or monsters are not as angry at you. And it dials up to core, which is close to tabletop experience as we can get it. It's same statistics, same abilities, a little bit more enemies, and up to unfair, where it's very, very cruel DM who just pumped up every creature and turned on every abilities that could possibly be in this creature and try to just destroy you.
There's DMs like that out there, aren't there?
And there are options in between. If you, for example, want to play without criticals because they add additional randomness, and you want to just turn them off, or we can let you do that. Just go in there and switch them off.
Right, so I don't know when this will go live, whoever's watching there, hello. But right now we're about 2 weeks after launch. What's your time taken up with now?
Right now we are focused on several things. We are fixing issues, of course, because the game is very complex, and sometimes bugs can get through everything, including QA and our own playthrough, and we are trying to fix that. Another aspect is we are gathering feedback from players, what they want to improve. It's not a bugs, but it's not very convenient, or it's a little bit cumbersome to use, and we want to fix that as well, probably a little bit later, but we're still in process of doing so. And we are starting our work on our first DLC for the game, and That's what we're doing now.
Compared to other tabletop roleplay games, Pathfinder is rather complex. It's a derivation of like 3.5 Dungeons and Dragons, and I know 5th edition is more story focused. I was wondering what the pros and cons are of working with Pathfinder as opposed to some other tabletop RPG systems.
First of all, we actually like it, and we played a lot of it, so we know it. We don't have to learn it because we already know it. We played it a lot on tabletops. Most of the designers' team know it just because they played it for quite a while. Same goes for a lot of team members, and we're enjoying the world, the Galarian, which is very different and consists of many countries out there, and you can experience adventures everywhere. They will be completely different. It could be medieval fantasy, or if you go a little bit to the north and to the west, there will be a waste with a huge starship that flew into the planet, and it's barbarians that are going into sci-fi spaceship with robots and strange gadgets and everything. Or you can go and have a pirate adventure in oceans full with maelstroms and everything. And so you can have any kind of fantasy experience you want, and it's really cool as there are a lot of cool stories, cool characters in there, and so it's very familiar and well known for us. So, and another thing that was taken into consideration, we were growing on Baldur's Gate games, and it's Dungeons and Dragons 2.5 that slowly merging into 3rd edition. And this experience also very familiar for us, and we can easily get into the direction with 3.5 and Pathfinder.
Do you think so? Just because you touched on Baldur's Gate, it's close to my heart. Do you think there's going to be anything like THAC0 for you guys? Like THAC0 for me was something that was incredibly hard to grasp. I really didn't quite understand what that was all about with 2.5 and Baldur's Gate. For new players, if Wrath of the Righteous is the first game that they're going to play of this genre, do you think there's going to be anything that might be difficult to grasp?
Honestly, I think yes, because Pathfinder is very complex and gives you ability to create any character you want, which kind of comes with ability to shoot yourself in the knee in many ways.
Yeah.
We tried to explain the system. We have a tutorials with hyperlinks that goes into an encyclopedia with every kind of information, and we are trying to give kind of support for new players, same way GMs do. For example, if you're starting creating your own character, if you're going into the classes, there will be a diagram showing this class is great at melee, it's not as great as at ranged, it sucks at magic, and it gives you overview what this character will be about. And when you are going deep into character creation, you can just hit an auto level up button and the build will be provided for you.
Yeah.
Or if you want to go in and try to create it yourself, we have recommendations. These stats are great. These feats are great. You can follow recommendation, or you can just go and try to create something wild.
Would you say that the recommendations are there for the people that are like picking Pathfinder up for the first time?
They help them. It's like for example, if player comes to me when I'm DMing an adventure and say, I want to play a Robin Hood, I will be saying, okay, so we want a class with ranged capabilities because Robin Hood was shooting arrows. So we have this one, and this one. And when players go into this into the class, I would say, okay, so you would like to have dexterity high because you want to be shooting your bow. But if my player said, but I also would like to talk my way out of this certain situation, I would say, okay, you can go with charisma, but still please try to take dexterity to a decent level, because otherwise your fantasy of being Robin Hood will be ruined, because you will be missing everything. And it goes the same way with feats and abilities and everything. It's like a lot of feats were derived from the same power fantasies, like being Robin Hood, shooting 2 arrows at once, or shooting arrows very fast and forming the whole rain of arrows out there.
Block out the sun.
And so it goes the same way. And we're trying to, it's still hard. You have to read a lot of mechanical stuff if you want to get into the deep enough into mechanics to play, for example, on core difficulty. But it give you guidance and slowly nudge you in right direction.
Nice. But yeah, originally when Wrath of the Righteous was announced, there wasn't going to be a turn-based mode. It was going to be very much like freeform, and there is now the turn-based mode. I was wondering, A, when the decision was made to put it in, and B, do you have a preference when playing the game over the turn-based or the free-flow combat?
When we were, after we released Kingmaker, in a while we noticed a mod that was allowing player to play in turn-based. It got a lot of attention, and a lot of players bought our game just to be playing it turn-based, and because there is a turn-based mode. As I was telling previously, our approach is to make a game that allows you to play the way you like it. So it's kind of question of story mode or hardcore difficulty. If you're preferring it turn-based, and it's and we can make it happen without dramatic effort and just making the second game, we should try to do that. So we worked for Kingmaker with the author of the mod, Xania, and made it happen. And officially, the turn-based mode for Kingmaker was released. And at that time, we knew that we had to port it to Wrath of the Righteous and make it available initially from the start. Because it fits that ideology of allowing you to play the way you want to play it. And as with previous experiences, completely fluid. You can turn it on and off at any time. And
I very much appreciated the how free it is to even go in and out of the mode.
And for me, the preferable experience is I usually play real time. Because I like fights, I like the visuals when it's visceral, a lot of things happening all together, it's a chaos of battle. But when I'm encountering very tough battle, like from there is one boss monster that I have to approach very carefully and time my actions very precisely, I switch into turn-based and do just that. Because it allows me to just make very precise commands.
Nice. I just wanted to touch. I know I can't keep you here forever, but I just wanted to touch on your history of creating games. Now, I am a big retro fan, and I've done my research, and I was aware that you have worked on one of the games that I played very recently, which was Evil Islands.
Yeah. I started my career with this one.
Oh, was that the first? That was the beginning. Oh, yes. Excellent. I love it. What I wanted to do was ask you. So obviously, the industry's come a long way since those days, and I'm sure you've grown as well as a creative. But aside from just graphically, What do you think are the biggest innovations from, say, the late 90s, mid 2000s RPGs to the RPGs of today?
First of all, RPGs becoming more accessible, and game developers trying to build a lot of systems to explain the system or to ease the first time experience and ease the player into the game because of many reasons. And it's sometimes it's attention span, sometimes it's just the games are more entertainment and more entertainment upfront I expected from the games than in 90s or beginning of 21st century.
Yeah.
Another thing is that the player expects not guidance is bad word for that. The main story is rather clear and paved out, and you will not deviate from it easily. There could be a lot of choices, and the story will respond to those choices, but it's hard to get lost these days.
Yes. Yeah. Very much more accessible.
Yeah, it's not like there is. If you go from the main story and go into side quests, that there could be a lot of mystery, a lot of things to explore and find out for yourself. But when you go through the main storyline, usually it more streamlined experience. It's also not a bad stuff, of course, because we want for player to have a very engaging storyline that. And that means it's fluid, and that means it's when you are stuck searching for a way to progress the main story for hours, you're completely forgetting what happened and what characters are staying there for. So this is also getting streamlined, and I also think that experience is a little bit divided between if you want really hardcore experience where your skills are getting tested and everything, it usually will be also in side quests or side activities. It started happening back in a while when you're playing Final Fantasy VII and you have those Emerald and Ruby weapons, which were completely side quest. You have to find them on crazy islands by breeding chocobos and everything. And those was the toughest fight in the game, not the boss fight, not the final boss fight, not the some mid fights before that. Those are and this ideology is just going forward with modern games. The hard fights, side activity, more streamlined experience in main activity.
Nice. So with both Pathfinder, Wrath of the Righteous, and Kingmaker, there was Kickstarters. I was just wondering your thoughts about the fact that a lot of game development has to go to Kickstarter to get funded these days. What are your thoughts around that?
Actually, the Kickstarter for us, it's more about people and connections and community, and not about money to make it happen.
Okay.
Because this community helped us immensely during Kingmaker. We went for Kickstarter for every reason possible, for money, for community, for awareness. And we found out that people that came to us are eager to help us make the best RPG possible. And they eager to play early versions, provide their feedback, and it is very helpful. It allows us to make game better with every new version and every step. So when we came to making Wrath of the Righteous, it was just like no-brainer. We want to go Kickstarter just because we want to have more people like that to help us with building the game and with building community around it. So that's, in my opinion, the biggest point for Kickstarter.
Yeah, nice. Well, Alexander, thank you very, very much for your time. I massively appreciate it, and thank you very much for all the hard work for you and your team on the game. It's amazing in its current form, and I'm sure that once there's a bit of spit and polish on everything else, it'll be even better. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
All the best.